Welcome viewers, this is Danny from LEGO Buff Productions, here with the first episode of Clone Wars Rewind. In this series, I'll be taking a nostalgic trip down memory lane of all the Clone Wars sets and minifigures produced by LEGO. Today in the first episode, we'll be taking a look at the Jedi Starfighters. They're laid out here in chronological order of their release date, the first one being Anakin's Jedi Starfighter releasing in December of 2007, and the last one being Sese Tin's Jedi Starfighter releasing in July of 2012. So in this episode, I'll be taking a look at the sets specifically. If you want a better look at the minifigs, stay tuned for a future episode. I'll be dissecting each starfighter, pointing out my favorite parts, as well as comparing them to one another. So we'll start with Anakin's. Again, as I mentioned, this was released in December of 2007, and 9-year-old me wasn't exactly the sticker expert. As you can see, I didn't exactly put these on quite straight, and they're also puffing up. There's some dust underneath them. I didn't put them down all the way, but that's okay. So the unique feature to this one, which surprisingly they didn't include on any of the others, is there's a trigger thing on the bottom. So you see this little blue cone piece right here. So if I push that in, the R2-D2 kind of pops up, and in theory, there we go, I got it there. He's supposed to pop out. So if you have it locked in right, and it's just using a basic kind of Technic structure there on the bottom. So as you can see, just that little unique feature right there. So the guns on this one are actually the flick-fire missiles, which were iconic in Clone Wars sets. This is back in the old days, before LEGO had those stud shooters, as well as those missiles where you the spring-loaded missiles. So these were the old flick-fires where you're supposed to kind of flick it from behind, and there we go, that one shot out there. So that was a cool feature, cool play feature, and I prefer the flick-fire missiles over the stud shooters, as well as the current spring-loaded missiles, because it still looks kind of like a blaster on the bottom, where those newer ones look very fake and obviously like a play feature, where this both functions as a play feature as well as a blaster. And then on top, it has these little Technic pieces right here that also work as blasters. I remember as a little kid, as I'd swoosh it around, I would tilt these up so it could shoot at ships above it, which definitely is not an in-universe feature, but it was a fun play feature as a kid. Other than that, nothing really too special here. The front doesn't have any cone or raised shaping in the front like we'll see with all the others. So this is kind of LEGO's first experiment with this sort of starfighter design. However, this is the only one that has stickers, and I actually placed these ones pretty well, on this back kind of flag piece that goes behind the cockpit. So that was really interesting that LEGO chose to do it on the first one, but did not choose to pursue it on any of the others. I think this is actually the one with the most stickers, because you have it on this flag piece, you have them 2 up front right here, and then you have 1 on each side of here with that Republic logo. This one right here is printed, so nothing too special there. That's Anakin's. Next up, we have Ahsoka's, which was released exactly a year later in December of 2008. It retailed for $40, however, it did include a vulture droid, so kind of made the price worth it. We see those same blasters up here where I can playful little Danny can shoot at ships above him. And then down below, we also have the return of those flick-fire missiles, which is, of course, good to see. The landing gear, I forgot to point out on Anakin's, but it's the exact same. It's kind of these longer feet. There you can kind of see them, so they can go. They have a lot of axes of rotation right there, and then right there, so you can get that right landing gear. You can put it even lower to the ground if you want. The cool thing about this is the first time we kind of see this cone, this nose structure right here. On Anakin's, it was flat. This one, we have these nice wedge bricks going in there, and these are actually printed, which was good for young Danny that he didn't have to worry about these intricate stickers going down the sides. I take back what I said about Anakin's having the most stickers, because it looks like on here we can see stickers there, same on the other side, as well as the same spot on the back on Anakin's. So that makes this one the one with the most stickers. As of now, I may change that as I look at the others. This is the only one that has 2 tiles on the inside, 2 1x4 tiles. So the astromech droid doesn't actually connect to anything. It just kind of sits in there, nothing too fancy there. So if you fly upside down, oh, you can see right there that the droid's hanging out. But if I had it lined up better, I guess he doesn't fall out. There seems to be enough friction in there that he actually catches. So when you're swooshing around the ship, yeah, there you go. he would not fall out. He just kind of bends over and then boom. So enough friction there that shouldn't be an issue. This looks like, yeah, this is a sticker right here. I believe, let's see, yeah, this is the only two of the Starfighters have the sticker, so this is one of those. The other ones have that printed tile, so it's interesting that LEGO kind of went back and forth with those. Next up, we'll move on to Plo Koons, which I actually can't find the astromech droid. I know I have it somewhere in my collection. I just need to sort a little bit more. So for the purposes of demonstration, I'll just throw R2-D2 in there just so we got an astromech droid in there. This might be one of my favorites in terms of design. I really love this blue-white pattern that we have going down. Of course, it's not LEGO's choice. That is the design from Star Wars themselves. We do have the return of these wedge pieces up front. However, these, I believe, are stickers. Yes, so these are stickers this time, whereas on Ahsoka's they were printed. So back to that sticker thing, but the only other stickers we see are on the back here. So not too many other stickers. Back to that printed tile. This is the first departure from those Technic pieces up front for those blasters. So instead, we have these cylinder pieces, which here I can pull one off, with the stud on the side, or stud on the end of it. So not too much of a fan of these. I wouldn't really say they look like blasters. Maybe it was just to get the coloring better with the color pattern going here. We also don't have any flick fire missiles, so we lost that fun feature. And they also changed up the design of the legs. So let me go ahead and pull off Ahsoka's leg right here so you can see that. If we can get this to focus here, we got this leg right here. This is from Ahsoka's. So you see it's like this brick with those hinges on it. And then we have this leg from Plo Koons, which is not a brick piece, it's a different piece. So it gives it a similar design, which I actually prefer. So that was kind of cool that they changed that up there. So that is a design I approve of, but I wish they would have kind of kept the flick fire missiles and maybe even those Technic pieces up top. To get that blaster feature still. But again, I like this, and I also like in the front here how it's not just a straight conical shape going forward. You have these wedge plates kind of popping out on the sides here, which is an interesting feature to add. Again, that's most likely just Star Wars' design, not LEGO's. And then where the astromech droid goes in, we have what seems to be the pattern for the rest of the series, which is putting in two jumper tiles down there, jumper plates, and that way the R2 or the astromech will not fall out or move at all with friction when you tilt it upside down. Now I showed you that ejection feature for the Anakin's Jedi Starfighter for the R2-D2. Now this one is even more interesting because they made it for the pilot. So we'll go ahead and stick Plo Koon in there, put the cockpit back on, and then underneath you can see there's this little ball piece right here. So when I go ahead and pop that, boom, Plo Koon flies out with the windshield, which I much prefer. I know that R2 feature from Anakin's where R2 pops out is more like when we see in the show when R2 kind of pops out of there. But I think it was cool playing as a kid where you kind of fly the ship and he's under fire and then you can eject him like, you know, like in World War II or whatever war where the pilots eject. I think that's a kind of a cool feature to include. So that is Plo Koons. Now on to Mace Windu's. This is the only one that I didn't buy at release. I bought this one a year or two after it was released, so while the Clone Wars line was still out, but this set had been discontinued at the time. This one retailed for $40, and it also came with some smaller stuff. That's why, similar to the Ahsoka's, which came with the Vulture droid, this one came with some, I believe it was commando droids, and then a little speeder. I'll be showing the box art at the end of this too, so we can take a look at it then. So this one is a real departure from the previous designs. LEGO, it almost looks like a different designer kind of took this one on. The only similar features we have are, again, these wedge pieces right here going forwards. With the stickers on them, we have stickers on the sides and stickers on the top. We also have two stickers right here, but we have this printed tile, which I had mentioned before. Astromech droid, again, using those jumper plates inside there. But what I mentioned is this real departures. On the side, there are no blasters right here. On the bottom, there are no flick fire missiles. The only missiles we see are these purple ones, which are quite different from the last sets that we saw. And something interesting about this is that you can only fire them when this, I mean, that would make sense that it's flying, but when this front leg is down. So you would just push from the back here and they kind of shoot out. But Not really to the effect of those flick fire missiles. They are flick fire missiles, but they're kind of automated with that design right there. So quite different. And just the overall look, kind of bringing in some of the other starfighters that we've looked at so far. You can see the design on all of these uses these wedge plates on every single one of them of varying sizes, but especially on Plo Koon's. Where on this one, it's just tiles, so it's a much more modern and sleek design, which I would call. Again, that's probably more of Star Wars' design and not Lego's, but again, just a total departure, and this probably would be my least favorite in terms of overall look. And finally, we conclude with Sese Tin, which is, I believe that's how you say it. I always mess it up. This one retailed for $30 and came out in July of 2012, capping off the end of the fighters. I know we got a remake of Anakin's, but I don't count that one. These are the originals. So this one, Lego finally nailed in, honed in, and polished their design of the Starfighter. I think this is the most well-designed and well-polished one. However, it does put it at a little bit of a different scale from the others. Let me go ahead and bring in Anakin's. Just looking top down, you can see this is a lot bulkier and larger, which I wish the other ones were. Maybe I'll do a fun video where I kind of rebuild the other ones in the design of this one, because I absolutely love this. So the first difference is we get this new cockpit piece, which is really beautiful. I love just kind of the overall bubble shape of it, where the other ones were more blocky there. This is the second Starfighter. I mentioned there were two of them that has the sticker instead of the printed insignia there. And then the wings are quite different on this one. So let me see. I may not actually, yeah, okay. So these are attached in two places, making them very difficult to pull off, which is actually a huge bonus as a play feature. So when you're flying it around, you don't actually rip off a wing as you're flying it, which had happened to me with the older ones, where these are only attached. Let's see if I can pull this one off here in the back. So you see just one attached point, and that was the problem with some of these older Starfighters, especially as they get older. You can see the wings kind of bowing out in the front, where I can push them in up there, which, you know, you shouldn't really be able to do. That's not a problem because there's two connection points, so that really, really locks it in. We also see the return of guns on the front here, and they're actually in the style of flickfire missiles, which of course is even better, my favorite. So we have two flickfire missiles on the front here, also doubling as guns, which I think is the best way to do it. And we also have flickfire missiles on the bottom, which is a huge bonus. Returning to the wings, something I didn't mention is that the wings only go up to this part right up here, and then the rest of this is just plates, which I think for shaping is the best. They also left that idea of those wedge pieces that we saw, those two wedge ones that went right up front, and they just had this long conical shaped piece going up there, which again I prefer. This one definitely has the least amount of stickers, I think. Let's see, actually probably not. This is a sticker right here, and we have two stickers here as well as on the sides here. Another thing to mention is the back of this is really complete. You have this whole kind of structure underneath here and on the sides, really tying this back part together, making it look complete. Whereas if we look on all the other ones, they kind of cheap out with just putting that, this one piece back here. They're just like, hey, this will cover up anything, right? Instead of going above and beyond and really making it a solid design in the back here. Again, this one was $30, a little more expensive, but you do get two Jedi instead of just one with it. They stuck with the same astromech connection thing with the two jumper plates there, so not a huge deal. Again, that's what all the recent ones used. And there's no ejection feature at all in this one. And one last thing I want to point out, which I forgot to on Mace Windu, so I'll go ahead and pull that in, is these two, which were the later ones, this one in 2011 and this one in 2012, have a feature where obviously when you put the minifig in, the lightsaber won't fit in there. And I remember when I was little, I was like, oh, what do I do with the lightsaber for the older Starfighters? So I think Sese Tin's does the best, is it has this little clip thing right here that you can attach it to, and it almost works as like another laser on the bottom of the ship, which is cool. On the Mace Windu one, it attaches on the back of the wings, so you can't really pretend it's a gun unless you want it firing out the sides. And it also kind of sticks out as you're flying around. It's not hidden underneath, but it still gives you somewhere to put the lightsaber so you don't lose it. So again, this one is definitely the most well-designed, and I think it would be cool to kind of rebuild the other ones with the techniques used in this one. So let me know down in the comments if that's something you guys would like to see. And just the last thing I'll point out about Sese Tin's is that the legs on it are kind of the ultimate form. So it uses, instead of that brick, it uses this black piece that we saw in Mace Windu's. And then it also has a shorter actual landing foot right there. It's a 1x2 instead of a 1x3. So that's just, again, kind of the final form of LEGO messing around with different landing gear. But again, this is a larger footprint than the others. As you can see, kind of throwing some others next to it, especially when you tilt them up, you can see just how much bulkier it is, but by far the best design. All right, the last thing I'll take a look at is the box art. I do save all the boxes. I do cut them down, so I save the front and the back. We'll just be taking a look at the fronts today. This is the first one. We see that iconic original Clone Wars artwork. This is the December 2007 release. Now, there was actually two different box arts for this one. The original one did not have the Clone Wars artwork on this, and that was what first came out. And then I believe a few months later, we saw kind of the Clone Wars branding come out. So those first, I think it was 2 or 3 sets from the Clone Wars had the different top part. It was just the classic Star Wars one, and then they switched it to this later on in the production run. So this is the first one. Anakin's, again, December 2007 was the original release. Keeping with that same Clone Wars art, we get this, which is the Ahsoka's one. There you can see that Vulture droid right there that I mentioned earlier. This one retailed for $40. Came out in December 2008, so just a year later. And then we had to wait 2 more years before we got the next one, which was Plo Koon's right here. This is the newer box art that we saw for the Clone Wars Another Wave, and has the Captain Rex up top, which probably was my favorite Clone Wars artwork, but I don't know, the classic iconic one might be my favorite as well, just because it was the OG. This one retailed for $25, and again, came out in July of 2010. And then this has a little sticker from when I bought it in the aftermarket on it. But this one is the Mace Windu one, and it was labeled as Special Edition. I'm forgetting what this actually references. I think it just means exclusive to a retailer. I want to say it was a Walmart exclusive at the time. So I remember they used to have these labels, but they don't seem to do that kind of... They still do retailer exclusives, but don't put this Special Edition, at least from what I've seen recently. This one retailed for $40, came out the year after the last, which was, this one came out in July 2011. And there's the little extra things I mentioned. You get these little staps and this droid speeder. You can tell me, these are both $40. Which one is the better value right here? I would go with the Ahsoka's just because you get a Vulture droid and not just some little extra ones. But you do get the tactical droid, which is the only time we saw this in a Clone Wars set. So it might be worth it for just that minifig. And then finally, we have the Sesame Tins with the Darth Maul print on there for the header. And again, this is kind of the newer box art where instead of having the minifigs in the bottom, they tried it out putting it on the side there. So up to you. Let me know which box art is your favorite in addition to the sets. And that's all I got for you guys. So that's going to do it for this episode of all these Starfighters. Let me know which one is your favorite or which ones you have in your own personal collection down in the comments below. And let me know what other Clone Wars sets and minifigs you would like me to dive into in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my channel for some other awesome LEGO videos, and have a great day.